So, we were going to do a Q&A for 10,000 subs, but this is going to be closer to 20,000, which I still can't believe, so thank you all very much. We've had the Google Docs sitting in Discord for a while, where you can submit questions, and if I do these in future, the way you'll ask questions is through the Google Doc in Discord. So make sure you join the Discord. It will be in the pinned comment and also in the description, and it's on basically every video's description. I'm joined here with my Swedish admin, whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce, because I will probably say it wrong. And he's going to ask me questions from the community.
Yes, okay. So hello guys, I'm admin Blibbyblobby from the Discord, and I have compiled a bunch of questions that you guys have answered through the Google form. We'll just run through them. Mr. History himself will answer them, and if we miss any of them, they might be brought up at a later date. We'll start with some questions by a Discord server user Thayer, who starts us off with the question, what gave you the idea to start a YouTube channel?
I was bored. Oh, I'm not even kidding. I was genuinely bored. All my systems were broken on a work from home day, and I had nothing to do. And I'd written out a basic essay about the 2nd Pacific Squadron, and I knew a bit about the Mossfer, so out of pure boredom, I decided to make a video.
Fair enough. So the next one, also from there, is what is the most offensive thing for tourists to do in Australia?
2 things. Put Milo with water. If you do that, instant hate crime, straight to Tasmania. And the other one would be order Foster's at a pub. If you do that, it's execution straight away.
A bit of a touchy one here. How does it feel to be British?
This is something I don't understand, is why people keep calling me British. I don't sound British at all. Just not every Australian sounds like Crocodile Dundee. We don't. Most of us actually will speak like this.
Now, as someone who has spoken to Australians before, I can't say I agree. Because if it's not Crocodile Dundee, is it really Australian?
I mean, I can do Crocodile Dundee, I just choose not to.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. We also have our final question there from there, which is your current favorite video game.
Oh, that's tough. I'm kind of a boomer, and I go between Rome 2 and Hearts of Iron 4 quite a lot, because I play the same games all the time. I really don't know, honestly. I don't really have time to play games much anymore. And if I do, it's usually just Hoib for a bit of fun, because I've played that for years. I genuinely don't have much time to play games these days. But I guess I'll go with Hoi 4, because I have a weird obsession with getting the achievements.
Yeah, you do seem to enjoy your map painting game.
I like the dopamine of the achievements.
Oh, that's fair enough. Our next question from Sir Hobbs from the Discord again, who asks if you would ever consider doing a blooper video, especially in regards to attempts to say the most unpronounceable words that normally get avoided.
Yeah, I have thought about it. I think it'd make fun shorts, to be honest.
And the next one is from James1010, who asks you for your thoughts on the war in Donbass pre-2022, and he's asking more specifically between 2014 and 2015.
Honestly, I think it's a complete embarrassment for Russia that they didn't take Ukraine at that point. The fact that they were unable to do it then is quite comical in a sense, and a lot of people will say, well, they didn't try and do it. Well, they did. They just couldn't. And that's where a lot of the hate for things like Azov comes from. It's not the fact that they had very questionable people in their ranks then. No, it's the fact that civilian militias like that formed up and got guns managed to stop the Russian army. So in that sense, it's a complete embarrassment for Russia. It's also an embarrassment for us. In the West, we should have intervened then, and we should have intervened hard the way we are doing now, if not further, to stop it, because to use a line from something about Churchill, you can't reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth, and when you allow a dictator to dictate, good luck telling them to stop dictating.
That's a very nice quote for an answer. The next one would be from Nimrod, who asks you for your favorite World War II or modern ship. So that'd be World War II or onwards.
Technically this counts because it was in World War II. HMS Renown, after its refit, absolutely gorgeous looking ship. Or HMS Hood. I love battle cruisers. They look great.
That is true. That is very true. HMS Hood is a beautiful gal.
Yeah, I've been looking at a 172 turret model of it, and I'm kind of thinking a lot for Father's Day.
Yeah, for people who don't know, History is a big plastic crack addict. And
yes.
You might see him boast about his plastic models in the Discord server from time to time. And he's very good at it.
I think I'm
It's very good at it.
subpar at it, but thank you.
And if we continue on with our next question, it's from Necron, who asks for the biggest history hot take. So your biggest hot take you have.
This is going to upset people. Douglas Haig was not a butcher. I said it, and I will make a video on it one day, but Douglas Haig was not a butcher, and it is unfair to refer to him as Butcher Haig. You couldn't do any better.
Well, I disagree. Me, with my extensive Hearts of Iron 4 knowledge...
He's got a,
could
2-width
have
para.
done a better job. Yes. In 19... between 1914 and 1918, I would have made it using my Hoy knowledge. With that said, it is quite a divisive statement.
Yes, and I will argue the point on it. But I will say this. If Martin Gibbon, who is one of Haig's biggest critics in his work on World War One, and he's a very well-respected historian, can turn around and say that by 1918 in the piece, Haig can be considered a master in the field, he knows more than you do. He knows more than I do. And he is correct.
It is quite powerful to have someone who is one of your... Well, what would you say? The biggest...
I'd say Gibbon would be...
critique.
Yeah,
really.
I'd say Gibbon would be considered Haig's biggest critic in terms of historical research. And for him to say that, well, it's not wrong.
It says a lot, essentially. If we move on from your hot take, we have Jay Danger with the question asking what strategies can be used to break the Russian naval blockade in quotation marks. Beyond what can be done, what do you believe will actually be done? And then he also says thank you, which is very polite and nice.
It's polite, yeah. The thing about it is that they can't really break it. Well, it's a very loose blockade, so it's far away from shore. The danger comes in submarines, so if they were to have surface vessels come in that could hunt the submarines, well, they've got to go through something very narrow in that, the Bosphorus, so it's effectively a kill box. Whether or not the Russians would attack anything in Turkish waters, I don't know. If you had 3 or 4 ASW corvettes coming through there, you'd be stupid not to take any chance you could to sink them, even if it's just outside of the water. So it would be very, very silly, effectively, for Ukraine to try and sell their new Ada-class frigate to Odessa. The way that they go about breaking this blockade is by not breaking it, and it's by using the Danube, specifically the port of Remy. It allows them to effectively circumnavigate it. Then there's also overland routes through Moldova, Romania, Transnistria. It needs to obviously get out of the way, so maybe through Romania and Bulgaria to Greece, and that's sort of the way they get around it. So by breaking it in the sense of they don't need to break it, they just need to circumvent it. And that's the problem with the fact it's the Black Sea. It's not like it's the North Sea. They can go around.
Yeah.
If they wanted to actually break it, a lot of planes and crapload more missiles would probably do it, along with a couple of... The surface ships wouldn't be great. You'd need submarines to break the Russian surface blockade, at least, because they do have some diesel-electric attack subs there. Well, we don't know the condition of them, because some of them are quite old, but it's a dice roll, honestly.
Yeah. I can't really speak on it. You're the expert here in comparison. If we move on from Jay Danger's question there to Incredible Shaker, he has a question there if there's ever going to be a video covering the refurbishment of the Iowa and its role during Desert Storm.
Maybe. I won't rule it out, but I don't have any plans for it currently.
Fair enough. If we then move on to Titan 100, asking if you will branch out from your Russian focus videos and branch out to other things / countries like China, USA, UK, or something else. He then continues with that the Russian focus videos are really good, but after all, you're going to run out of Russia-related things sooner or later.
You underestimate how incompetent that navy is, and that country can be in certain places. I could probably survive on Russia content for about 2 years at this rate before I ran out, to be completely honest. The Soviet space program in itself is wild, but you are right in the sense that I will want to cover other things. The issue is, right now people want to see Russian stuff, and my major is predominantly in Soviet studies, and the politics and the reasonings behind it. So it makes more sense for me to do what people want to see right now, and also the fact it's, well, what I would be considered qualified to speak about. In saying that, the other period of history I absolutely adore is the Napoleonic period, and prior to that, especially in the nautical sense, if you haven't picked it up yet, I'm kind of a boat person. So yeah, I will cover other things. I do want to cover some Australian history too, because there's a lot of stuff that is not spoken about or talked about very much in the wider world that is quite comical. Like the fact that a bunch of commandos got on a fishing boat and sailed to Singapore and blew up a bunch of ships and sailed away.
No, it's history itself is kind of wild, and I think most people see the sense in kind of following kind of what everyone else is doing, that it is quite Russia focused because that's what people want to see in the current state of the world, and it's I think just the community as a whole, and myself personally, it's just the stuff we want to see.
I think I found a little bit of a niche too when it comes to naval stuff too, because like you have people like Laserpeaker who does tanks, just lots and lots of tanks. You have people like Anamaki who talks about planes. There's not really too many people out there who talk about this just state of the Russian Navy in a comical way. Like you have Drakinifel, who's an absolute expert in the field, and he's very educational, and I recommend everyone watches him. But it's a different style. It's a different style completely.
No, that's quite understandable. It fills a hole, essentially. It fills a hole. If we move on from that question, we move further to Dark Horse 13 Golf, who asks, when the United States got one over on the Soviet Union, and also vice versa. So an example of the US getting one over the Soviet Union, and an example of when the Soviet Union got one over the United States.
It's actually the same answer. The Soviet Union managed to make the US completely panic, I believe, with the MiG-31. Was it? I think it was the MiG-31. With its big engines and such, the US absolutely panicked. On the flip side, they turned around and made the F-15, which is just... it was a massive own, in a sense, because when they actually captured one of those MiGs, they realized it was, well, a bit of crap. So it's kind of a, look what we've done to make you panic for years, and then the US going, all right, I'll build this super mega death machine, and all of a sudden you have the F-15 popping out. So it's very much a case of, haha, we win politically, and then the US going, yeah, but did you? When they bring out the hard product, it's quite a funny story, and I'll probably make a video on the F-15 development at one point.
Fair enough, yeah. Our next one is from Lieutenant Australia, who's asking when you will be admitted to the NAFO even rounder table discussions.
I haven't had an invite. If I got one, I would happily say yes and say hi to everyone. I think everyone on there is pretty cool, but I'm just happy in my corner right now. If it happens, it happens. Yeah. It'll be cool, but I'm not banking on it.
We have a follow-up question there from Eminent, who is asking kind of an outlying question compared to the others, asking your thoughts on marching bands.
They're asking this because they're a little shithead, and it's because I made a joke at one point that I was on a date once and the girl was talking about marching bands non-stop because she's from the US, and I just got sick of it and I said, well, we don't really do marching bands here. And then she went on a rant about how the US is the best at marching bands in the world, and then it ended in me going, yeah, because no one else does them. You can't make something and then say you're the best at it when no one else does it, and yeah, that's where they're getting the joke from, because marching bands annoy me because of that.
So it's kind of like the World Series baseball, but the countries who play the most baseball are either very much affected by US culture, like Japan, who's quite big on baseball, but it's still like, you know, it's the biggest in the US and therefore they are the best.
Yeah,
kind of like in America.
Yeah, like American football, because the World Series baseball thing is actually named after the World newspaper. That newspaper just sort of kept the name. So it looks a bit more, well, annoying than it is. But yeah, it's like American football. It's like, yeah, cool. No one else really plays it, so get over it. In saying that, I admire the hustle.
Well, yeah, it is a good one. We also have a question from Uncool Guy, and it's ship related again, asking for your favorite warship of all time, not just World War II to modern, like the earlier question we had there from Nimrod.
HMS Victory. It's the thing that started my love of history. I actually found this the other day on eBay. There was a guidebook from the Portsmouth Historic Dockyard that from an English teacher that was sitting in my primary school library in rural Queensland. I probably rented it day after day after day, and I've read it cover to cover about 20 times when I was a little kid. When I say little, I mean like 6. And I found an exact copy of it on eBay the other day for like $30, and I bought it, so it's sitting on my shelf. So HMS Victory started it all.
Fair enough. She is a pretty old one, and I can get where you're coming from.
Seen her twice in person now, and I will be going back.
It's good that she keeps you coming back though. Our next question is from Jaden0010, who asks, would you in the future consider a video or series on the design / construction / sinking of the Bismarck?
Yes, because the Bismarck sinking and the argument around it annoys the ever-loving crap out of me. So yes, I will.
Fair enough. Next question is from Oshborger, who is asking what your favorite event in history is.
That's really tough. Probably the Rum Rebellion in Australia, just for its comedic value and the fact that it was William Bligh getting mutinied again, but this time it was over the fact that he tried to stop Australians from using rum as a currency. I find that quite funny.
I can see the comedy in it, for sure. And next question is actually one that I actually, I'm quite interested in. It's from Penny Whistle, who asks if Tim Tam slams are a real thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. You're not being screwed with. They're a completely real thing. Normally you'll do it with a cup of hot tea or something, but you bite the end off each end of the Tim Tam, and you drink the hot drink through the Tim Tam. It could be like a hot Milo, hot chocolate, or tea, but it makes the Tim Tam go really gooey and really tasty. But it's completely a real thing. We actually do it. It's quite good. Now I kind of want one.
Fair enough. And we have a question from Emoth76 asking what do you think about the Japanese army in World War II?
I can't answer that within YouTube's terms and conditions, but Google Unit 731 and then Google a nuclear bomb and you'll see what I think about that army.
Fair enough. The next question is from Garm Helson, asking you what motivated you to initially delve into history and what motivated you to take that interest or drive to YouTube.
The delving in was HMS Victory, like I mentioned before. I just became weirdly obsessed with it as a child. I don't know why I became so obsessed with the Age of Sail, but I did. And going into YouTube, it was pure boredom. I had nothing better to do that day, and I thought, you know what, I could probably make this funny. According to some people in my life, I'm kind of comical, so why not? I'll throw it on there. And, well, now we're here.
Yeah, fair enough. The next two are from USS Buck DD420. The first one is the question regarding the former youth gentleman you knew, and if he's still alive, and if it would be possible to get an officially recorded interview with said person.
So if anyone who I've mentioned this in Discord, anyone who doesn't know this, Gunter, that was his name. He lived next to someone I knew growing up, and I had very long conversations with him, and he was actually in the Battle of Berlin as Volkstrom, as part of the youth. He unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but he spent the rest of his life almost hating a part of himself for falling for the propaganda as a child. So that's something to take into account. And one thing he told me was you never know when you're being hit with propaganda until it's too late. So for all those people out there who constantly will, take into account things that are coming out from literal state-owned and state-published media sources like RT, stop and think. Always ask why. What does the person have to gain from it? When you watch my videos, ask the same question, what do I have to gain from it? The answer is not much. When you watch something from RT, is what does Russia have to gain from you believing what they say? The answer is a lot. Just keep that into account, but unfortunately Gunter has passed away. Okay,
and the next question from the same Discord user would be if you plan on doing any dedicated vehicle series, so for example underrated aircrafts, tanks, etc.
Probably something on overrated stuff like the Bismarck. Either that or funny stuff like the Bob Semple tank. I feel like that would be a cute 5-minute video if I ever got stuck and didn't have time to make a video.
And we have a bit of an outlier here that I know that was made known to you in advance, essentially just to get you thinking. It's from Jack Frosta 1234, and it's a bit of a long one, so I'll read it out to you. So if Timmy has 3 apples and Mike has 2 bananas, and if the national gas rate is RP 12,800 for a liter of gasoline, and if Germany's national GDP is 4.6 trillion US dollars, and the average cost of a General Dynamics F-16 Viper is $3 million, and if the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird can reach a maximum speed of Mach 3.3 at 85,000 feet, and if the train departs from Amsterdam traveling at 135 kilometers per hour at 12:15 Eastern Standard Time, and if the train leaves New York at 150 miles per hour at 0600 Pacific Standard Time, and if the destination bomb, a General Ordnance unguided Mark 82, weighs in at around 227 kilograms, and if a Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp 18-cylinder air-cooled radial engine can produce about 2,100 horsepower, and if the average guns to people count in the United States is 120.5 to 1, then how many watermelons can Tobias in Denmark buy if Venezuela's national debt increases 2.4 million South Korean dollars?
It's definitely a question. It's one of the questions.
It certainly is a question.
Now, over 50% of the watermelons in Denmark are actually imported from Spain, so the purchasing power of Venezuela here is quite moot. But the person in question, Tobias, has not been said to have any money themselves, so the answer is 0 watermelons.
Well, there you have it, Jack Frost. 1, 2, 3, 4. The answer is 0 watermelons that Tobias from Denmark can buy. We'll follow up with a bit of an easier one from Like a G-Man, who asks your opinion on the best non-American NATO fleet and which one is the worst.
I would say the best would probably be... It's a tough point between the Royal Navy and the French Navy, and it really depends on what theatre they're operating in. So the French Navy is better suited to operate in the Mediterranean. The Italian Navy also comes very close to being the best in terms of the Med, given the Charles de Gaulle is a catapult carrier aircraft, and a lot of the French fleet is built around escorts for it. So it would be fantastic if we're talking about the Med. In general, and when we're talking about its specific field of operation, I'm going to go with the Royal Navy, and the reason being that it has 2 carriers, so one can be in dock, one doesn't have to be. They're all F-35s, and the other thing is I'm going to say that the ski jump ramp here, which is something that a lot of people are going to start smashing their keyboards about, is a good thing, because you can't use a catapult when you're in the North Sea, because you'll catapult your aircraft straight into a wave if there's any waves, and you're on a downdraft. So it's a lot harder to use a steam catapult launch in the North Sea, where it's particularly choppy. Whereas with the ski jump, it's a lot more effective when you're in really bad weather. Given the fact that they're operating in the North Sea and they've got the operability of the Royal Navy, and then they're backed up by the Dutch Navy and the French Navy and the Belgians and the Norwegians in the North Sea, I'm going to go with the Royal Navy on that one. The worst, probably Romania, because one of its frigates is ridiculously old and the other 2 literally have a 76mm gun, and that's it. It's not a frigate, it's a patrol boat.
Fair enough. Quite cut and dry responses there to the best and worst non-American fleet. The next one is from Finn, who asks you what's your favorite CAS aircraft, or, well, I'm going to say and, so we have the first part asking what your favorite CAS aircraft is, and what your favorite airline is.
Can I count the Swordfish as CAS? I don't think I can.
If you count torpedoing something as ground attack, sure.
No, they could carry little rockets too. No, I won't count it. I'll go with a Mosquito in that case.
Fair enough.
Just Mosquito all around is a brilliant aircraft. Favorite airline? Singapore. Absolutely, Singapore Airlines. Best and most comfortable airline to ever travel on. And Changi Airport is fantastic. I've used Singapore to travel to the UK, and I've used them to travel to, well, Singapore and then Thailand, and they were fantastic both times. And if I can fly them again, I will.
Perfect. Well, there's your answer, Finn. So our next question is from Shinrei, who asked your opinion on the Abrams X/KF-51, and they're wondering if it's overkill or a necessary technological advantage.
At this stage, I would say overkill. I know it's a bit of a contentious point at the moment in the history space, but the fact remains we have yet to see a single T-14 in combat, so at this point they're not really necessary for a cost effectiveness ratio at this point. So yeah, there's that. But I mean, the fact that the technology's there is pretty cool. The Abrams X genuinely terrifies me. I kind of love it. It's pretty cool.
Fair enough. So the next question is from Otis, who asked your opinion on Laserbeak.
I love the pig. I think he's quite funny. Like, obviously we're going to disagree on things because, you know, no one agrees on everything. But I think the pig is quite funny. He's very well informed and he does his research. Like, the thing that really got me, and the reason I spoke out on it, is when you want to attack someone's argument, you attack the argument. You attack the argument and you cite why you are attacking the argument. The comments I saw and the ones I deleted and the ones that showed up in my filter were not attacking the argument. If you're going to disagree with someone, attack what you think they're wrong about and back it up with actual sources. Don't use a blog post that Timmy from St. Petersburg wrote after drinking 7,000 bottles of vodka and eating some blins. No, actually, go and find cited sources, back it up, and if you can't back it up, simply say you disagree. Don't resort to insulting someone's character because it just makes you look like a twat. It really does.
I'd say that's some wisdom to take with us. If we're moving on to the question here by HMS Atomic Dreadnought, I believe you mentioned to me earlier that you had actually counted the exact answer to this question, and it's the question is that if the Royal Navy captured a Nimitz-class carrier, what the price money would be for the crew who captured a Nimitz-class carrier.
So I kind of worked this out based on a frigate, specifically an Iron Duke class, because they're the current Royal Navy frigates, and given the fact that frigate captains in the Royal Navy, historically speaking, captured the most ships, and they're kind of psychos because they're frigate captains, so their stories are wild, I used a frigate. Crew complement of an Iron Duke is about 165. I ran on the fact about 45 would not qualify under the ordinary rate. And I use Napoleonic rates here because it's when most captures happen. So the value of a Nimitz-class carrier brand new is $6.2 billion. Running on that, the ordinary sailors would get about 2/8 of that in terms of prize money, distributed between them. So that divided by 120 equals about just shy of 13 million each.
Fair enough.
I think
that's still a quite high number. But if you consider the size of a Nimitz class carrier, it's kind of makes sense.
I think that's about right. Yeah, look, I haven't had breakfast yet, so I think that's about right.
Well, there you have it, HMS Atomic Dreadnought. That's your number. If we move on to the next question here from Legendary Morph, who asks you if there's ever been a point in which the Russian Navy was a serious threat.
It depends on who you are. I mean, to the Turks during the Imperial period, this is before World War I when the Turks got a swanky new battle cruiser. Yes, it's not hard to be a threat though when you have ships of the line versus frigates. Like, this is something that gets commented on my video a lot, is like, but what about the Battle of Sinop where the Russian Navy won? I'm like, well, considering that 3 of the Russian ships had more guns than the entire Turkish fleet put together, duh, if they didn't win, I'd be concerned. So it really comes down to who you are. Like, they're a threat to the Turks, absolutely. Well, they were, not anymore. The Turkish Navy could absolutely stomp the Russian Navy at this point during that period. But when you compare them to something like to the Finnish Navy in World War II, yeah, they're a threat there as well. But it really comes down to who you're comparing them to. And the thing is, that a lot of people don't actually bother doing is when they do Navy versus Navy things, it's like, who else will they be fighting? So if they turn around and attack the Finnish Navy now, they could probably win, but who else would they be fighting on top of that? So it really comes down to when and who.
Fair enough. The next question is from Arctifier, asking what the world's least powerful navy currently is. Like, who has the world's least powerful navy currently?
It'd be a toss-up. I kind of want to say Zimbabwe because it has 9 sailors and a Grand Admiral, and that's about it. Although there is a tugboat on a lake in Mongolia, and I think that's a high contender.
Fair enough. The next one is from Silverstruck, who asks a question that you've kind of already answered, asking why you decided to start making content and why you chose military history especially.
I went into the first bit because I've answered it twice already, but why military history? Long answer, I find it really interesting, and I'm fascinated by it. Short answer, I'm a male in my early 20s. We pick like one of 3 paths in life, and it's either military history, and if it's military history, you pick a conflict, or it's like fishing, or Woodcraft. We either pick one or we pick two. So it just is what it
Fair
is.
enough, yeah.
You know I'm right.
I'm not disagreeing. I don't think anyone else would either. The next one is from Glorious Leaders 7142, who asks in which part of Australia you live in.
I'm from.
If you're from the hellscapes of the west or the cityscapes of the east.
I'm from Queensland originally, the southeast corner, but I live near Canberra now.
That's fair enough. The next one is also from Glorious Leader 7142, who asks if you would consider yourself more politically liberal or conservative, and as he's also very kind to mention that you don't have to answer because it's a personal question.
Something quite funny here is that's the same thing in Australia. Our Liberal Party is actually our Conservative Party. It's back to front. In saying that, I like to keep people guessing, and I've got a fun running bet if anyone in the Discord can actually guess what my ideology is, and I just want to see if someone eventually gets it, and I'll never tell them if they do. That's the thing, is I don't believe that it's relevant at all, because actually, this is a fair point to make. Don't live your life by a political ideology. Just don't be loyal to crazy loyal to a party. It's not worth it. Think, use your own brain. You'll be happier. Trust me.
That's actually really good advice.
It's mostly
it's very important.
It's mostly directed at the Americans out there, because you are 39% of my audience, and you guys are a bit hyper-politicized at this point.
Harsh truths. The next one is also from Glorious Leader 7142, who asks if you intend to talk about the Severomorsk disaster in one of your videos.
Yes, because it's just, yeah, it's a thing. I intend to, but yes.
Would you say it's a bit too big to ignore?
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Fair enough. Yeah. We also have, I think one of the more important questions from Kay here. Why is Battlecruiser?
Why is not Battlecruiser?
Yes.
I have a feeling, though, they're asking about why I consider the Kirovs to not be battlecruisers, though.
Fair enough, yeah.
I think that's
why. Do you want to tell us why Kirovs are not battlecruisers?
Okay. If anyone says there's more than one definition of a battlecruiser, no, there's not. Jackie Fisher invented the battlecruiser, therefore he made the definition of it. The point of a battlecruiser is to be armed as a battleship and to attack cruisers. That's the point of it. We don't have battleships in the modern sense. The point of a battleship is to sit in the line of battle. We don't have a line of battle in the modern sense. So, the term battlecruiser, like battleship, does not exist post getting rid of the Iowas in the 90s. Like, they were the last examples of a battleship, and their job wasn't even to sit in the line of battle at the end, but they were still battleships because that's what they were built for. So the line of battle doesn't exist. Battlecruisers don't exist anymore in that sense. Ergo, they are cruisers. Big-ass cruisers, yes, but they are cruisers. It's the same argument with the Alaska-class cruisers during the Second World War. They are not battlecruisers because they're not contemporarily armed to battleships of their period. That is the whole thing about a battlecruiser. It has to be contemporarily armed to a battleship, just faster, and designed to attack cruisers and to hunt them down. That role doesn't exist anymore. It's just a cruiser.
Fair enough. It's good to know that you're passionate about your definitions.
It's just something that's bugged me, because the only reason it's called a battlecruiser is to play up Red Scare. That's the only reason.
Well, you gotta watch out for them Reds, you know. If we move on to Titan 100, are you actually in the Navy, considering all your Navy-related videos, or are you just kind of boat crazy?
Unfortunately not. I am from a RAF and Army family and background, so naturally I became obsessed with ships because of reasons. I did try and join the Navy, and I was all set to go and go to ADFA, which is the Australian Defence Force Academy and such, but unfortunately my knee is completely bonked, so that wasn't a possibility for me.
A question from Turgeon123, a bit of a culinary question. Have you ever eaten ketchup chips?
We don't really have ketchup chips. Just off the top of my head, we have tomato sauce chips, and they're very good. Ketchup's not a thing in Australia, really. Like, we have it, but like tomato sauce is more common, and it is different.
I was gonna ask, do you really think there's a difference between tomato sauce and ketchup? Because from my experience in Northern Ireland and the UK, it's red sauce. People say red sauce when it's actually just like Heinz.
Yeah, no, there is a big difference. Tomato sauce is almost a bit more sour, and it's a bit more complex of a flavor profile, whereas ketchup's a bit more sweet.
Fair enough, yeah.
It's like Marmite and Vegemite. There's differences.
Both are terrible, so...
No, they're not. Vegemite's
They
great.
don't matter. Opinions.
You come from Sweden. You guys eat raw herring.
Excuse me, I don't. And it is a terrible dish, and I'd rather have meatballs with some nice potatoes and like just a brown sauce and lingonberry jam, which is amazing.
Fair.
And you can buy it at your local IKEA, not sponsored.
That's how you know the channel's made it. I get sponsored by IKEA.
Yeah. They start sending you flat packs in the mail. If we move on to the next question here from HMS Atomic Dreadnought again. Do you think that if the UK had taken really good care of HMS Present that they captured from the United States Navy, if they would have it today as a ship museum, if they took better care of it?
I would say they probably would have given it back in some kind of diplomatic thing around the Second World War or First World War or something like that. The answer is
signify
unity
better relations kind of thing.
Yeah. Incentive, could they kept it? Yeah, they absolutely could have. I mean, the Constitution's afloat today. So is the Trincomalee, which is a contemporary of HMS President. It's in Hartlepool, or Hartlepool, depending on who you are. I had people in the UK pronounce it both ways. I don't know. It was weird. HMS Victory is also there as well. The thing about the Constitution, though, is the only reason it's actually still afloat is because when it ran aground near the UK on a cruise about a century or so ago, the UK went to great pains to make sure it wasn't lost. So the British absolutely could have helped preserve it and kept it preserved if they wanted to. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
Fair enough. We have kind of a double whammy here from Shadow, asking what your favorite weapon is and also your favorite battle of World War II.
Weapon would probably be the British 15-inch naval gun. I think that thing needs more love. It's a fantastic naval gun. The one on Warspite and Hood, basically. Favorite battle? In terms of a historical research standpoint, Berlin. I think it doesn't get... the battles around Berlin, sorry, not in the city itself. I don't think they get enough research and enough attention compared to the city itself. In terms of naval battles, though, Cape Sparta, it does not get enough attention.
Yeah. We have a question here from One French Toast asking how long does it take you to make a video from planning to publishing, and how much do you enjoy this process of making a video?
I really don't like the final stage of editing because that usually involves like 12 uploads to YouTube trying to not get copywritten, and that's a pain in the butt. In terms of idea, I'll get the idea and then I'll think on it for about 24 hours to decide whether or not it's a good idea, and then I'll write it. I can usually smash out the writing after research. I research for about a day, and then I could probably smash out 2,000 words or so in a couple of hours sitting down at night, which gives you about a 15-20 minute video, depending if you're 2,000, 3,000 words. So the writing and the reading's probably, I want to say 3 or 4 days, and then I'll record it on a Monday, usually on a work from home day during my lunch break, and then I'll edit it throughout the week and have it edited and done by Friday night. I'll stay up late doing it on Friday if I have to, so I can have it premiered on Sunday. This is why I'm dropping back to 2 longer videos a month, because it's just not possible for me to work full time and do 4 videos a month if you want longer videos.
Fair enough. With the next question here from you and me, they are asking for your thoughts on the Kirov cruisers, and because it was mentioned in the Russian Navy videos, and they're interested in seeing if it's actually the only good thing to come out of the Russian Navy.
I just want to say I appreciate the fact you called them cruisers. That's quite nice. They're quite... These cruisers are very much a case of eggs in baskets. They are very powerful ships individually, but I'd rather have 6 Ticonderogas. You could just do more with them, and collectively 6 of them is better than 1 Kirov. I get the idea and the thought behind them, but you could build a lot more with a lot less. Like, those things are huge. Yeah, they're very powerful ships, but again, if you were a country the size of Russia, and I said you can have 4 mega ships, or you can have 16 smaller yet powerful ships, I tend to go with the 16, but that's personally just me. Given the fact that you're never going to be able to attack and get naval supremacy, it's just not going to happen. So you need to defend your borders, and for that reason alone, I'd much prefer a smaller style ship like a Ticonderoga or an Ailey Burke, something smaller yet more powerful. as a collective whole.
Very elaborate answer to that. We have a question from Eric here, asking how, why, and what is a history of everything?
I'm really not sure how to answer that.
So, how is a history of everything? Are you doing good? Are you doing good? Are you feeling great?
Oh, if he's referring to me, no, I've been sick for like a month. I can't seem to shake it. It's driving me nuts, but other than that, I'm okay.
And why are you a history of everything?
Because I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into certain bits of history. That's the only reason I named it History of Everything, was because I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. I wanted to cover lots of different things.
Yeah. And you've already answered the what part, which is a YouTube channel on the YouTube platform. Our last question, or second to last question, is actually from Farno, who asks, are the French French because they speak French, or do they speak French because they are French? Also, how did that influence Napoleon's invasion of Russia?
Okay, so we're going to talk about France here. France in itself is a relatively new idea as a unified country. So for most of France's existence, France itself, as ruled by the French monarch, is the city of Paris and surrounding areas, and you've got a series of really powerful dukes around that. So it's not until the revolution where you sort of see all those dukes have their heads chopped off and power is centralized. Most of France couldn't actually speak French as we know it today in the same language during the revolutionary period, so you have multiple different languages used at different points. It did have an influence in the sense that it was a lot of work to get everyone speaking the same damn language, and that you relied on a lot of picture propaganda to get it to work. But I mean, the invasion of Russia is much more complex than that. There's a lot more that goes into why it failed. It would have had an influence, yes, but not as much as you may think.
Another good one. So the next question is actually from me. So, how come you haven't done any Swedish content yet? I'd like to know.
I'll get around to it. I'll do a history of IKEA if you want.
Oh, I'd love that.
Actually, that would be kind of a fun video.
You could go through the history of the founder of IKEA and find some quite funny stuff. So
I know.
I think that would be a great one. It'd be a great video. But that's all of the ones we have for this short Q&A.
Short. It's 50 minutes. It's going to be longer than anything else on the channel.
It's going to be the longest video. Anyhow, do you want to do a sign off? Do you want me to do the sign off? Do you want to be all professional?
I could be all professional, but yeah, as I said, if you enjoyed this and you want more Q&As in future, I can definitely do them. The way to ask questions is in the Discord, so join the Discord. Ask questions there. Read the rules when you join the Discord. I don't want to have to keep adding more rules, so behave. But,
please don't make me work. I'd prefer if I just sit there and enjoy everyone's nice talking to each other. Yeah, if I actually have to, ban people, it gets quite tedious quite fast.
Yeah, also, I don't pay him, so you got to be nice to him.
Yeah, I'm very much slave labor.
Exactly. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you're still here at this point, the analytics will tell me, but have a good one.
And we have a 3. I'll count to 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then on the
3?
4th clap. Oh well, do you want to clap on 3 or do you want to clap on 4?
3? You underestimate just how incompetent that fucking Navy is. I'm gonna say that again because people keep complaining, I swear.
Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, and just clap when you say 3.
Okay, so clap. Oh, that's so. Why would you? Okay.
I'm gonna laugh at this so much.
It's a good blooper though. This could be at the end.
Yeah.
Who cares? Okay, this is so dumb. So the next question is from. Well, it's not a Discord username. It's actually from the boss, and it's not my boss, which is Mr. History here. It's Mr. History's boss, and she has a very, very pressing question that I also agree with. I spoke with her regarding this question because I was kind of curious, and she's wondering why you can't remember to take a towel before you shower with you.
I blame the French.
Can't blame the answer. Makes sense.
Exactly.
They're always up to something.
I won't elaborate on this further. I simply blame the city of Paris.
That's fair enough. All right. Okay. So clap on 3.
Yes.
1, 2, 3.
All right.